Gonna go ahead and get started. As I was just saying that I want to invite folks to go ahead and rename yourself. So you can do that uh, by if you by going and clicking on the three dots on that when you hover over your video, just as like it's pictured here on the slide, and you can add your district number uh, there. And if you don't know your district number, I'm going to just prompt either Dustin or Beth just to drop the link in the chat for folks to look up their legislative district. Great. Um, Next, I just want to make sure everyone can easily follow along with this training. So you can turn on closed captions if that's helpful to you by selecting the closed captions icon located in the Zoom toolbar on the desktop. On mobile, if you don't see a closed captioning button, you'll need to select the black arrow in the top left of your screen, then the settings cog icon, then meetings, then enable the show closed captioning when available toggle button. So if you're having any difficulty doing so, please message Dustin or Beth, and we'll try to help if we can. Okay, great. So, hello again, everybody. My name is Mustafa Abdullah. My pronouns are he, him. I'm the Director of Campaigns and Strategies at CCAN Action Fund. And we're doing a testimony writing training this evening so we can prepare all of you to share your personal testimony on why you care about these issues during your lobby meetings, when you testify and write to your legislators. For those of you who attended our storytelling training about 3 weeks ago or so, this builds on that skill. And if you didn't attend it, that's okay. This is still the right training for you. So, our learning goals for this evening are one, just to understand the key components of good storytelling that will help you lobby and write testimony. And number two, just to help you draft your own story that you can include in your own testimony, and make sure you are signed up on the MyMGA website so you can be prepared to submit testimony come January. Okay. So for the agenda for tonight, we're going to revisit first our community agreements. Some of these will be familiar to those of you who joined with the storytelling training, and then make sure you are clear on the key components for storytelling. We're going to then model and debrief two stories, one that's focused on clean transit and the other that's focused on energy affordability. And then we're going to break up into small groups to workshop and write your stories. And then we're going to debrief together in a large group where we'll hopefully invite one or two volunteers to share their story with us. And then we're going to wrap up by making sure everybody signed up for MyMGA. And we'll talk about our next steps in terms of the events that are coming up and actions that folks can plan to be participating in once the legislative session starts. So, I want to take just a moment to revisit these community agreements, and um, so I'm gonna go through them, and I want to make sure that we either get a thumbs up or to see if there's any questions, and to see if there's any questions from those who are participating. But the first thing is the safe space. We want to have a safe space and we want to have a brave space. So we know that learning new things can be uncomfortable. This can be challenging and requires all of us to be brave and to step into our discomfort. But our ability to be brave rests on a foundation of feeling safe, of being seen, heard, and respected. So just wherever possible, whether it's in the main space here or it's going to be in your breakout, just strive to build that space to make it so that people are feeling both safe, which then empowers them to be brave and leaning into their story and potentially sharing things that are vulnerable um, about themselves. Um, Secondly, take space, make space. So be aware of the space that you are or are not taking up. If you've been participating a lot, particularly in your breakout, try making space for others. And if you've not participated very much, try taking up some more space. And then what's shared here stays here, but what's learned here leaves here. You're going to learn things about storytelling, writing testimony, and we know that the stories that some folks might share here might feel a little bit personal and raw, and they will decide whether they're going to include it in their testimony or not. So let's just hold confidentiality for one another by only sharing our learnings and not other people's stories outside of this space until they decide that they are prepared to share those. And then lastly, be present and lean in. So engage meaningfully and authentically in the conversation that's going on in the room, not in the virtual room in this case, but not the one on your phone or in other places that might be distracting. So I want to just get a thumbs up, or folks can post in the chat if they're good to go with this, but also to see if there's any questions or yeah, if there's any questions about these community agreements. Great, I'm seeing thumbs up. Fantastic. Okay, great. Beth, Dustin, anything coming through on the chat that
We are doing well.
okay, fantastic. All right. Great. So I'm gonna just start off here with what the story of self is. Um which is the bedrock of the testimony writing and the sharing of testimony during lobby meetings. Um, the story of self, right? It communicates the values that called you to take the action that you're taking, right? The values that are driving you to be very concerned, so concerned enough about clean transit or about investment in solar energy or about making sure that our energy bills stay affordable for all Marylanders. There's an experience or a set of experiences that you've had that have shaped your sense of values, that have called you to lead and to act on this issue at this time. So, you might not be aware of it, but you have a powerful stories that have shaped your experiences. And we want to tap into those values that have influenced the choices that you've made and those moments that have shaped those values and the challenges or opportunities that you've had, the choices that you've made in the midst of those challenges and those opportunities that have brought you here to this moment. There are real lived experiences in there, and that's what we're trying to show in the story of self is those glimpses into your real life experience that have brought you here to this moment. So um, there are three components to these stories that I think that, well, this is a framework that I think is helpful to think about when writing your story. One is what is the challenge? And so well, let me start off by saying here that we have three elements, I should say, in the story. One is we have a plot, we have a character, we have a moral. So the plot begins with some challenge or begins with an opportunity that confronts you and is requiring for you to pay urgent attention to it. So, and then to make a choice, and a choice for which maybe you're not prepared for. And then the choice yields an outcome, and this outcome teaches both a moral, but it also is demonstrating the reason that you are showing up to lobby and advocate for this legislation. Uh, so the character in the story of self is you. Um, and so we want to be leading into a specific challenge, a moment in time in which you faced a challenge or had an opportunity that you were confronted with that shows why you are passionate about this issue. and to be identifying what is the challenge in this legislation that we're trying to solve, and when did you realize that this was a challenge? Um, then secondarily is the choice. So when you face this challenge, what was the choice that you made? We want to lean into describing the moment that you made, where you made this choice, so that we can understand why. I like to think about just summarizing this as saying like show, but don't tell us. Um, why did you make the choice you did? Where did you get the courage or not to make that choice? Where did you get the hope or not to make that choice? Did your parents or your grandparents' life stories teach you in any way how to act in this moment? Did maybe it was other people that taught you how to act in this moment? How did it feel when you made that choice? You don't have to answer all these questions, but hopefully these are some prompting questions to get the juices flowing. And then on the outcome, what was just the outcome of the choice, and how has that outcome moved you to lobby for this legislation? How did the outcome of this choice make you feel? Why did it feel? Why did it feel that way? What did it teach you? What do you want to be teaching us? How do you want us to feel? These are just some of the questions that you can think about in your brainstorming to help you think through your story. So, we're going to provide you with two examples on on the story of self. Uh, One is going to be done by Beth on transit, and another is going to be from Dustin on climate justice and energy affordability. And so. Um, the we will we'll start off we'll start off with Beth, and then we're going to Dustin's going to lead us in a debrief of Beth's story, and then we're going to go to Dustin. Dustin will do the story, and Beth is then going to debrief. So I'm going to pass it uh off to Beth. Go ahead, Beth.
Thank you, Mustafa. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Beth Landry. My pronouns are they, them, and I am CCAN Action Fund Central Maryland coordinator. Some of you may know I'm originally from Maryland's Eastern Shore, and so living and thriving there means having access to a vehicle. I've also lived in Prince George's, Anne Arundel, and Frederick counties, and while public transportation in those areas is more or less more robust, it could be so much more. Do you know how I know? Well, between 2018 and 2024, my partner and I lived in Malmö, Sweden. One of the first things I noticed after arrival when we were there were the dedicated bike lanes incorporated into every sidewalk, and all city streets had sidewalks. After we got settled, we started using the city bus to get around. Buses were nearly always on time. The city bus app had a map with live location indicator so you knew exactly where your next bus was, as well as a fullness indicator, people tapping their phones to get on for payment, also updated the bus capacity so you knew if you could get a seat or not. All of that doesn't even touch on the spider web of train lines in service, and I found out that Sweden was the first country to pass an Environmental Protection Act in 1967. Their entire underground system runs on green electricity, and their bus system is 100% fossil free. So, for a city with 350,000 people, we saw remarkably little vehicle traffic. Public transportation was available or is available, and people use it. When it became clear that my partner and I would be moving back to the US, I knew I had to share that kind of world is within reach when we take collective action. Some of you may have also seen Maryland Matters reported just a couple days ago that Marylanders have the second highest commute time in the nation. More cars are on the road longer, increasing air pollution and disrupting work-life balance for working families. With that said, we need the mandate that the Transportation and Climate Alignment Act would provide to invest in public transit, bike and pedestrian infrastructure, development that reduces vehicle traffic, and solar projects on MDOT property. I wish that someday from Ocean City's beaches to Garrett County's mountains that we can have clean, green, affordable, and accessible public transportation for all Marylanders, like I witnessed in Sweden.
All right, everyone. I'm going to post these questions in the chat, but I'd like to hear from a couple folks. What challenge did Beth personally experience regarding transit? Did anyone notice a choice that Beth made in response to that challenge? And what was the outcome of that choice? And did you feel that you could place yourself in that story? And what are some of their sensory details that stood out to you? Can anyone raise their hand as we sit with these questions? How do you all feel?
We could also just start off with just the first one. What was the challenge?
Yeah, can anyone name the challenge for us? I think, oh, go ahead, Ruth.
She couldn't easily access public transportation.
Yeah, coming from, of course, growing up here, but coming from Sweden and returning to a country that really has almost the exact opposite priorities when it comes to transit and transportation. That is a huge, huge culture shift. Can anyone name the choice that Beth made? Gary?
Again, the choice was that, why don't we have a system like that here in the United States? And I would just like to say that my daughter lives in Israel, and in Tel Aviv, it's exactly the same system that Beth described. And I was just absolutely amazed that you could get your phone and to the nearest minute you knew when the bus was going to come. I was used to Baltimore where, for heaven's sakes, the bus might come, the bus, who knows when it would come next. How do you know where the bus is supposed to be? What what's this, where you're supposed to get a map that shows you where the bus goes? The difference was just like, and she just, yeah, doesn't everyone live this way? And the answer is, of course, no.
Yeah. And that's, I'm certainly very well acquainted with our bus system here in Baltimore. So I'm glad that you drew that connection. We have just one more minute. What are some sensory details that stood out to you? How did Beth paint the picture?
Well, one thing was very little vehicle traffic.
That's something that we can all definitely notice, especially those of us who live near 95 or 295. Can you imagine no traffic? Oh, wow. All right. But I have my own story here, and I'd be happy to share it with you, the text version. But I wrote this kind of oriented towards if I was actually testifying before the Triple E committee. So, good evening, Senator Mustafa and members of the Senate Education, Energy, and the Environment Committee. My name is Dustin Branch. I'm a constituent living in the Mount Vernon neighborhood of the 40th District. And tonight, as myself and hundreds of my neighbors gather to watch this year's lighting of the Washington Monument, I'm struck by the beauty of our nearly 300-year-old city and those who call it home. 5 years ago, I began searching for a place where I felt safe from the uncertainties brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic and repression from rising authoritarianism. And coming from my hometown in Orlando, Florida, I found all that and more here in Baltimore. I found hope. Nowhere else can I expect to hear good morning and thank you from everyone I pass by on the street or see everything from a simple smile to folks helping each other wherever I go here in the city. And with all that, it didn't take me long to realize that to be from Baltimore, you need to put in the work. And from crises like the Key Bridge tragedy to the ongoing opioid epidemic, I have seen residents step up each and every day to support their communities. But I also learned that these uncertainties didn't subside just by moving here. They became compounded by historical challenges residents like myself face every day. My affordable apartment turned into a cost burden rental with every new rate from BG&E matching my rent increase each year over the past 5 years. And the landmarks and the walkable neighborhoods that I cherished steadily decayed while every single investment that we need to maintain our infrastructure was treated as a burden by people who have never even been here. Now, wherever I go in Baltimore, the story is very much like my own. Neighbors balancing energy bills and groceries while prices get higher and higher. Air pollution coming into our homes and impacting our health. And with one crisis after the next, no way to keep up. It just feels like no matter what you do, there is always going to be another problem around the corner. And right now, renters like me are forced to watch money from our utility bills be used to plug holes in the budget rather than fund the clean energy projects those funds were intended for. Cost savings from technology like solar panels are reserved for homeowners and those with landlords that they can depend on, not the residents who are most in need of relief. And so, with energy prices getting worse each and every year, we can't afford to wait on a recalcitrant federal administration or utility monopolies that choose profit over people. And that's why I've brought myself and all of my neighbors here tonight to call for solutions that will allow us not just keep up, but overcome the challenges that are facing our city and its residents. So we request that you issue a favorable report on SB 5555 to expand access to balcony solar for all residents, that you stand up for rate-paying families by keeping the money we contribute to the SEEF, Strategic Energy Investment Fund, from being used for budget relief, lessening the burden of rising energy costs on working families. Thank you.
Wonderful work. Thank you, Dustin. I'm just popping the same questions into the chat as we're going to flip our roles here and dissect a little bit about Dustin's story and what folks felt and imagined, as it were. So what challenge did Dustin personally experience when it comes to energy affordability? What did folks hear from that? And feel free to just put a hand up or unmute. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, the money that was supposed to be going for energy savings was being used to balance the state budget.
That is indeed one of the challenges. Yeah, making sure that money is used for its intended purposes. What choice did Dustin make?
Beth,
Sorry.
I would jump in there and say, what was the challenge? That was sort of the macro challenge, right? That's like the tying to the legislation. But what was the personal challenge that Dustin named? How was he personally impacted?
Every time BG&E's rates went up, his rent went up.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Great. Great. Go ahead, Beth.
And when it comes to the response to that, what choice did he have to make? What was Dustin's response to the challenge for his rent having to go up because of the utility increases with the rent increases?
I may jump in just to say that is why I brought all of you all from all over the state here to Baltimore to come and testify with me here at this committee hearing with Senator Mustafa.
A little bit of a meta answer there. Yes, writing testimony about it. Uh, and so what's been the outcome of that choice?
Just 3 people. How many people?
Sorry, did you say something, William?
I didn't say anything. I don't know. I came in late. I just got here, so I'm not really sure. I was just wondering how many people are at the meeting. This is my
Well,
first time using this computer for this, so
okay. Well,
getting used
I'm
to
not
it.
sure if you, I'm not sure if you were on while Dustin was sharing his story slash testimony. We were just talking about the pieces of that, and I was asking what the outcome of, so the choice to write testimony and to gather folks for doing um yeah, for doing that, and I was asking what the outcome of that choice is.
Oh, well, he had heartache, I guess. You know, he had a rough time because he couldn't afford it. All those bills, right? I don't know. He's trying to get uh, people together to lobby the government. Is that what you're looking for? All right.
I don't know, Dustin, if you wanted to confirm.
Yeah. I mean, the outcome is that now we've got our crew together. We are testifying on specific named priorities that can address the issues that we illustrated.
Great.
What stood out to
And
me, and I remember, is that he wanted balcony solar to be passed.
from that desire, so there were pieces of that that were very memorable, I'm sure, to everyone, including some of the details about. eh, eh, I could speak to what I heard that was really memorable, but I'm curious what stood out to folks in terms of the sensory details. How did you see? How did the video play in your mind? What did you imagine from hearing Dustin talk about and the testimony that he shared? Or the yeah. What were folks imagining?
Getting tougher and tougher to pay bills and keep up.
Yeah,
Yeah, going into debt. If you can't pay your bills, you use your credit card and you go into debt.
and I see we can do probably one more. I see Gary, you have your hand up.
I was just going to say that you have this beautiful community that, if people can't afford to live there, that community goes away.
Thank you for sharing. I think I don't think we have time for any more, but I would thank Dustin again for your testimony to the committee and pass it back over to Mustafa who's going to talk a little bit about crafting testimony such as this. And you're muted, Mustafa.
Right? Great.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and invite Dustin or Beth to share in the chat just links to the sample testimony folder and the testimony writing guidelines and worksheet. We also have a fact sheets folder that I can share with folks too for our legislation. But now you've heard examples of stories that are connected to the Transportation and Climate Alignment Act, and then you've heard story, Dustin's story being connected to protecting the Strategic Energy Investment Fund, and that primarily helps Marylanders who are having trouble affording to pay for their energy bills to be able to pay for those. And then also a balcony solar legislation. And so want you to it was really great hearing folks participate in the discussion, because we could clearly hear from you all that you are thinking about the values that you share, whether it's values around transportation, having access to great public transit, having access to transit that runs on time, and then also energy affordability, and investing in solar and clean energy values. You all are thinking about the values that you have in common, the values that have brought you this to here. I want you to keep marinating on those values, and what are the experiences or an experience that you've had that is connected to that value, that has helped to shape that value for you. So as I talk about these, as I go through the testimony writing guide and what's on this slide, I want for you just to hold on to those values and to the experiences that you're thinking about, and just remember them, because they can serve as the foundation of the story for your testimony. So how do you craft the testimony? The first step to crafting your testimony is just to think about, as we talked about, these specific experiences that you've had that are motivating you to lobby on this specific issue. These are experiences about you, right? It's about Dustin realizing that, oh, I can't pay for, or I'm having trouble balancing these bills and being able to cover all these costs. It's about Beth going to another community and realizing, oh, public transit can be that much better. And so thinking about those experiences that are motivating you, personally you, not just in an individual capacity, not in just a meta framework and a meta reasoning, but that experiences that you've had that are motivating you to participate in this. And so thinking about which of these issues you're passionate about. Are you more passionate about transportation and reducing emissions through clean transit? Are you more interested in energy affordability? And are you more interested in solar? These are the issues that we're going to be leaning on right now for this training. And so think about which ones you're passionate about and why. And what are the experiences that you've had that have shaped your values, that have led you to relate to this particular challenge and this issue? And what would getting these bills passed mean for you and your community? How might it prevent bad things from happening? How will your experiences change should this legislation pass? So, okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and, oh, my mouse froze for a second there. Okay. We're going to go ahead and do breakouts for about 20 minutes. Dustin or Beth, actually, one of you could just create the breakout rooms here. If you're still not sure what you want to be talking about or testifying on or writing testimony for, you're going to stay in this main room with me, and I'm going to help you unlock what your climate story or stories are, and help you coach through that. But if you know, like, I'm really interested in transit, join the Transportation and Climate Alignment Act breakout room, and Beth will help you write your story. And if you're interested in more the energy affordability in solar, join that group. Okay, so folks should have an invitation to join whichever group that you would like to. And if you want to if you're not sure, you're welcome to stay in this main room, and I'm happy to talk to you. But I'm also going to go through. Yes, I just want to give an opportunity for at least one volunteer to share a story that maybe you've come up with or that you're working on. And so, Beth or Dustin, is there somebody you would like to invite to share their story?
I may have one. Jim, would you like to share?
So, trying to be concise, climate scientists have been saying that storms are going to become more frequent and more severe over time because of global warming. And I can tell you on the basis of my own experience that that seems to be true. I've had impacts in my front yard, my backyard, and my basement, as well as in my community, where my church has been near to and hit by a tornado. So I had flooding in my front yard. I had to pay a guy a couple of $1,000s to put plumbing and a trench and different things in my basement so that it wouldn't flood any more often. I also had a tree knocked down in my backyard. Fortunately, it didn't hit the house. But now I have to pay, when a tree dies in my backyard, I have to pay a guy, above $1,000 to have the tree taken down. And I also have to pay a tree service to cut limbs and dying limbs and things off of the tree so that it doesn't whack up against my roof. And my church, there has been a tornado that touched down a couple of blocks away from my church. In that tornado knocked down a tree and in against a house. People were trapped and had to be rescued by the fire department. And there was a tree down in the backyard of my church as well. Although again, fortunately, it didn't harm the church buildings. End of story.
That's fantastic. Give a round of applause to Jim. Wow. Such a clear challenge, choice, and an outcome in there. My goodness. Thanks so much, Jim. And Jim, I wanted to say, I definitely think you could write the story if you haven't already and put it in an email to your legislators just about the veto override. But also, actually, Jim, which we didn't talk about much today, one of our priorities will be the Climate Restitution Fund legislation that's sponsored by Delegate Sheila Ruth, which essentially, right, creates the legal mechanism for the state to be able to sue fossil fuel companies for damages, whereas the Make Polluters Pay is about getting companies to provide funds based on their historical emissions to the state to cover the costs. This is looking to the future to create a legal precedent for the state to be able to sue. So that could actually directly apply to that legislation when hopefully it gets a hearing, and you can definitely use that story to testify for that in support of that. Fantastic. Okay. I know we're almost at time here. Is there one other story that folks would like to share? And I apologize, we may just go over just a couple of minutes, but that was really great to hear. Fantastic. Okay. Well, I'm going to share my screen and pass it to Dustin just to make sure that folks are signing up for my MGA and that they know what's coming up next. So Dustin, go ahead and I'll share my screen again here.
All right, y'all. Well, we really want our members to stay as informed on the movement of legislation as possible, and for everyone to submit testimony when a priority bill comes for a vote or a hearing. So to make that possible, what we need is for you to create an account on the Maryland General Assembly's website. So go to the website, takes about 3 minutes to make your account. But once you have completed the form and submitted your registration request, you are going to get a confirmation email. Oh, the QR code is missing. Well, we will send you, I posted the link to the chat, and we'll send you this link as well in our follow-up email. We can go to the next slide, please. So we definitely want you to tell us about yourself and your climate story. That goes from whatever roles you're interested in. Write out the story that you want to use and send it to one of us. So if you're in Western Maryland, Baltimore area, send it to myself. Montgomery County, Central Maryland, send it to Beth by December 12th. Reach out to one of us to get connected to your specific lobbying team in your individual legislative district. And now when it's time to lobby our legislators, sign up on MyMGA, be on the lookout for emails or texts for an instructional video on how to track and submit testimony on our priority bills. We need you to RSVP. This is a big one. RSVP for our first day of session action on January 14th. We were there live and in full effect earlier this year. Everyone was shocked, stunned. Jim, you were there. It was a great show of force. We want to be even bigger and better next year. Next, we need you to RSVP for Lobby Night on February 16th. We put out our link tree with all of these events in the chat here. But join us also for our next membership meeting, Thursday, January the 8th, from 7 to 8 p.m.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Dustin, for sharing those. And of course, don't worry, we'll have a follow-up email coming out. It will come out by Monday with all of these materials and links. So if you missed something, don't worry about it. And I'm very happy to stay on for a few minutes if folks have questions. But if you need to go, you are welcome to leave. Thank you so much, everybody. And I hope with this storytelling, you're just learning a little bit more about each other and building more of a sense of community amongst fellow climate justice advocates. And because we are what we've got in fighting back and pushing for progress. So thanks so much, everybody. But I'm happy to hang on for a few minutes if folks have any questions.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thanks so much, Ken.
I can send in written testimony even if I can't, again, do I have to wait for a particular time for a particular bill, or once I've made an account, I can just upload that at any time? Is that correct?
You want to go ahead and take it, Dustin?
Yes. So it's like all things with the government, it's very tricky. So there is a 48-hour, depending on the committee, actually, there is either a 48-hour or a 24-hour window before a piece of legislation is being heard before the committee, where they are going to open for written and oral testimony. So you can submit it just like a PDF, a Word document, anything, and that will go to all of the legislators. Or you can either provide oral testimony over Zoom virtually, or there in person with us in Annapolis. But 24 to 48 hours just to sign up and submit it.
But I should have that all ready to go so that when you do get the notification, you're not trying to compose something at the last minute.
Yes.
That's absolutely right, Gary. And then also in January with our next membership meeting, which is going to be on January 8th, we will talk through sort of substantively the technical process for submitting the testimony and how we're going to be notifying our volunteers, but also how you can create in your MyMGA account notifications to be tracking specific bills. So hopefully we'll have at least bill numbers for some of our priority bills, and they'll hopefully be in on the system there. So I just don't want you to think that you're going to be on your own and having to keep track of where the bills are and when they get scheduled for these hearings, and when, just know that we will communicate about it. And there's also an opportunity to get notifications on the MyMGA account.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Ken, have you had the opportunity to meet Beth
Just on these calls.
just on these calls? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Beth, Ken has a great public transit story with challenges about taking public transit to get their daughter to school and going to Baltimore for work, and so we did talk a lot about that. It was great talking with you, Ken, about those stories and those experiences.
Thank you. I'll head out. Take care.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. All right.